constitutional, but Trump did himself no favors in how this was executed.
I mean, it's interesting. Yes, they struck these down on IEPA grounds, but Trump's moving ahead. He is somebody who says fight, fight, fight when he's literally shot at. I think he's going to continue to try and implement his agenda here. And it's interesting. I mean, I hear so many times where people keep saying the Supreme Court is in Donald Trump's pocket and we don't have checks and balances. Well, for anyone who made that accusation, I think today was a sign that the system is working exactly how it was designed to work, with the Supreme Court putting a check on the executive branch. And, you know, he isn't challenging that he disagrees with that. He's upset, obviously. This is something that he's been talking about since the 1980s. But he's going to figure out another way to move this agenda forward. And honestly, if he doesn't, I think the markets will be even happier than they are now.
I can see why he's very frustrated, because if you look at what the opinions say, if you look at some of the opinions, Justice Thomas Kavanaugh said, you know, if he'd have done this under the 1930 Act, the 1962, 1974 Act, he could have done it and still agreed with Trump that he had the right to do it. Thomas was even more specific. He said, look, historically, when you've given someone the right to regulate trade, which he does have under the law that he went under, that historically has meant the ability to put duties on companies.
He doesn't have the authority to regulate trade. That's not actually the authority that he has. Congress, the ruling, and the Constitution. Forget the ruling. The Constitution is crystal clear.
No, he could shut down products right now from countries.
Well,
he could do it just like that.
He can do it under specific circumstances for specific reasons. And that's the gist of this, right? It's not that the president doesn't have some tariff authority. He does. But to your point, he could have done this in any number of other legal ways that would have limited the scope.
Well, now he's going to.
And now he has to, because that's what the law is. But he can't do it forever. He can't do it at 30% or 40% or 60% or whatever number he comes up with off the top of his head. There is such a thing as rule of law, and I think that's what the court was basically saying.
That's exactly what the court was saying. And look, people in my district have been feeling the effects of these tariffs for almost a year now. We are seeing higher prices at the grocery store. People are struggling more in our communities than they have been due to the actions of this administration. And so it's the Supreme Court telling Trump what we all knew to begin with, which is that his irrational actions were illegal and unconstitutional and anti-constitutional as it relates to the separation of powers. Congress is the one who is supposed to determine whether or not we're going to have tariffs, and the executive is able to continue to administer whatever policies fall in line with that. But we have three branches of government, and this unitary executive power by this wannabe dictator is finally seeing a check by the Supreme Court, which hasn't happened a lot.
To be clear, if he was a dictator, he wouldn't have acknowledged that the Supreme Court gets to do what they're. I don't understand why everyone's still up in arms when the system is working exactly the way that it's designed to work.
I'm not saying the system in this instance did not work. It's also not just like people on the left that are saying that the Supreme Court is in Donald Trump's pocket. There's 60% of Americans, which includes Republicans, think that the Supreme Court is partisan at this point. So that's just a popular opinion. But on this, he is upset because he did stack the court, and he stacked the court for a reason. And now he's like, you aren't following my order.
He stacked the court. Justices, yeah, but the president does.
Yeah, but this is how he stacked the court. Remember when Scalia died and he didn't let Obama appoint? They didn't let Obama because they were hoping Trump would win. Stack one. Stack two. Stack two is when he was president and Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, and he then rushed it in less than 100 days, hypocritical to what he said before. So that is actually stacking the court. But
okay, so let me
actually on the tariffs, because I don't really care about what the Supreme Court is. What it is. The reality about these tariffs is he could go ahead and try and do it the way he wants to. But up to this point, Americans have all spent on average about $1,000 more because of those tariffs.
But then why would the refund go to the companies? I thought the companies were paying the tariffs. They're all saying we need to get our money back.
You just made my point.
Well, no, the companies are
saying we paid this money. No, you didn't. The American people. So
well,
now
then who gets their money back?
You're both a little bit right. The answer is both. Okay, it's both Americans and American companies are paying tariffs. And Americans actually might be paying a double price.
That's
because
right.
When companies pay for tariffs, they don't give wage increases. They don't put in more for your 401k.
Well, then we shouldn't have a corporate income
hire
tax.
as many
Then
people.
why do we have a corporate income tax?
But let me just read this. This is what JD Vance. This is where JD Vance said about This is what JD Vance said about the Supreme Court. He says, "This is lawlessness from the court, plain and simple. and its only effect will be to make it harder for the president to protect American industries and supply chain resiliency. So he goes all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States and says that they are lawless. Who gets to determine what the law is? Is it not the
They
Supreme
believe-
Court?
no,
JD
but this
Vance and Donald
administration
Trump are
believes-
allowed to be upset, and I think they do feel that over the span,
But
they were able to
lawlessness?
they were able to curb the inflow of fentanyl. They were able to use this as tools to end wars. Obviously, they're very upset, which of course they would be.
I mean,
You're not allowed to be upset when
but no,
you
here's
don't
the
get.
thing.
I mean,
No,
look at with Biden.
the problem isn't just that they're upset. The problem is that they're attacking the Supreme Court of the United States, which is a very
The left
important,
literally attacked the
very
Supreme Court
important
in the
equal
streets,
branch,
went to their
is a
houses.
co-equal branch of government. And when the President of the United States and the Vice President of the United States are attacking the legitimacy of the court's decision, even when we disagree with their decisions, the President of the United States and the Vice President doing this really continues to affect and
okay.
deteriorate our
AOC
ideas about
said-
democracy. But here's the other thing. Here's the other problem. There's the other problem. with
AOC is not the president.
The tariffs that were put out and that this administration did were illegal, were unconstitutional, and were anti-constitutional. We have a Congress, they have a job. I'm running for Congress. Let Congress do their job.
Yeah,
Don't
Congress is
allow, don't
dysfunctional
allow,
is the problem.
don't allow
We're
the
running for
President of the United
dysfunctional
States, don't allow the President of the United States and the Vice
Trump
President of the
has
United States to take over what Congress's role is
Trump
supposed to
has
be.
never asked Congress to codify his
No.
tariffs. Why not?
Well, because
His party controls both houses. He could do that.
let me
Why
see if
won't
I
he
can
do
say
it?
something that everybody might agree with. I don't know. I think it should be illegal for foreign countries to be able to lobby our congressmen. And that's what's happening. You've got all these countries that lobby Congress, and guess what they're going to lobby for? No tariffs. So it's going to be a hard time to get this stuff passed into law. That's a
even
major
if that were
problem.
true, there are also dozens and dozens of American companies who are lobbying
Well, at least
to
they're
not
American.
be subject to these tariffs. And guess what? Some of those companies got tariff exemptions because in this administration, you can get an exemption if you can get into the White House and get the ear of the president, which is at the very least an anti-capitalist idea.
It's also tariffs are not bad policy as a whole. It is the way this administration so carelessly did it. Like Democrats do support tariffs. They would be probably willing. Actually, I bet you if he actually tried to follow the three branches of government, that might have actually been a bipartisan
Can
piece
we
of
agree the tariffs
legislation.
worked? Our trade deficit went to zero, basically.
No, we
Tariffs-
can't agree
No,
tariffs.
no,
Worked
no,
deficit
hold
was
on,
$100
hold
billion.
on, whoa. That did not happen. Okay,
No.
just this week, they announced that the trade deficit is now where it was before. There was one brief period when people were front-loading tariffs when the trade deficit changed, lowered.
No.
That is not the case anymore
No, the trade
because
deficit is
it-
way down. from
no,
where
no,
was
it is
when Biden
not.
was
Go
in-
back
oh,
and look.
it is.
So
Al,
do you
go
not
back and
think
look
any
at
of
it.
the American
It's
people
not.
paid
So-
any money out of pocket for these
Let me
tariffs?
just say this: in the real world, if it's purely a capitalist society, yes, the tariffs will be passed on. But when you're looking at China, China can subsidize it and go, you know what? We're going to
Why do
subsidize
we
this so you
keep
don't have
talking
time.
about this as if there are not facts available to us?
There are
okay?
facts.
There was a
I had-
CBO report. There was another report that came out just in the last 30 days that found that in between 90 and 95% of the tariffs, not speculatively, they have been paid by American
Then where's the
companies
inflation? Where's all the
and
inflation
by
everyone's talking about?
Americans.
There's been no
And
inflation.
so, look, American companies have absorbed some of that cost, but that is not a free lunch, okay? When companies absorb the cost of tariffs, it comes out of their bottom line. It reduces their profits. It changes whether they're being willing to spend on R&D, spend on capital, spend on employees.
I'm glad
So-
Democrats
so
are worried
look,
about corporations.
I get that
I
you
like
don't
that.
think that it matters, but
Maybe
it's not the
maybe we can-
case that
maybe
China
moving forward,
is
we can
just
all
eating it.
agree
How
that
about
taxes
you guys keep doing
are
our
always
jobs for us
passed
and
on to
keep
the
pushing these
consumer.
policies? Because let me tell you something: the American people feel the pain of
That's right.
tariffs, and if that's what you all want to run on 2026, go for it.
Well,
All right, we'll
Exactly, yes, let 'em keep
All
doing it.
right, next for us. Will Donald Trump's FCC crusade backfire when Republicans are in power? And why isn't talk radio now under scrutiny as well? Plus, what the workout videos and brunch pictures tell us about the MAGA cabinet.